Hello YouTube, what's going on? It's your boy Devvy right here, and today we'll be looking at the iPhone 6s. Is it going to be worth it in 2019? First of all, I want to say to all you lovely people out there, Happy New Year's Day to all of you. By the time you're watching this, most likely we will be in the year of 2019. And without further ado, let's get right on to it. So, with me here is an iPhone 6s. This one specifically was created or rather manufactured in the year 2017. So it's not as old as its previous counterparts. However, it is still using dated tech. And by that I mean I believe, A9 chip and such. Now, don't get me wrong, the A9 chip is pretty fabulous. And things like Touch ID, 3D Touch, all of those work flawless. And they work with such incredible speed that if you don't disable certain things on your phone, it will just leave you. Like right now, it's turned off. See if we can turn it on. Right now, it's turned off. But yes, is it usable in 2018? It was. Is it usable in 2019? It will be. Is it going to be usable till 2020? Of course it will. But of course we can't judge because who knows what iOS 13 will bring. Now of course this phone, unlike the 6 and the 5S, which I did a video on earlier, this guy comes with 2 gigs of RAM. That alone makes it a very capable device. Not to mention the fact that the A9 chip is significantly better than the A7 chip, which is in the 5S that I did a video on previously. The camera also is significantly better on this device. Not to mention it has a raise to wake function. See? Look at my... So I'm going to show you guys. Right now the phone isn't set up. Just got it. Raise to wake. Now, for certain features like 3D touch and stuff, this phone works perfectly. In terms of LTE bands, it has plenty of them. In terms of connectivity, this is the last phone Apple made with that right there, a 3mm headphone jack. And unless you want to use only that port for the rest of your life, this is the only phone that I would recommend from Apple to buy in this upcoming year, especially since the price is that low. The price for a 5S right now, for some magical reason, has decided to climb back from under $100 on both eBay and Amazon to climb to a whopping $140, $147 right across the board. Now, you may still find offers out there cheaper than this. However, most offers now are between $130 to $150 for the iPhone 5S. Another thing to note is that the iPhone 6 has also increased in price, with some variants even starting as high as $200. The 6S is the best valued iPhone to buy used right now because you can get it for, I've seen on Amazon, I'm not sure if that offer is still up right now, but I've seen on Amazon iPhone, well, that wasn't an iPhone 6S, but I've seen on Amazon an iPhone 6S for 256 gigs for only $288, which, trust me, is a steal. Not 6S, I mean 7, yes. The iPhone 6S, 128 gig, which is what I have in my hand right now, I've seen this on eBay from prices ranging from 239 to 286, depending on whether you're buying it refurbished or used. Buying it new, I wouldn't recommend unless you can get a price for the 128 gig under, let's say, $300. Moving on into comparing this phone to the iPhone 7. The only major difference for me the iPhone 7 has over the iPhone 6s, other than the CPU, which you don't really see the difference in CPU performance because iOS is so efficient. The main difference for me would be, other than the headphone jack, the 256 gig model. That would be the main difference for me and would be a very convincing factor for me because I use apps like crazy. My apps aren't small. Like the smallest app I download would probably be like WhatsApp and Facebook and those small things. But majority of the apps I use are over 1 gig. Not to mention music. My music library on the iPhone 3GS that you guys saw previously in another video, that library alone took up 11.9 gigabytes. Not to mention the one on the 5S. That took up a lot more. I had to delete some of my music because that was a 16 gig iPhone 5S to download and install PUBG to try it out. And up to this day, the iPhone 5S still works perfectly fine. 16 gigabyte model, I wouldn't suggest you getting in 2018 or 2019. 32 gigs, I still wouldn't recommend that because, to be realistic, if you're gonna be listening to music and taking picture at the same time, you cannot do, let's say, less than 64 gigs unless you have like the iCloud plan where you upload all your photos and you have like, I don't know, probably 64 gig storage. I don't remember the exact types of storage they have. I know they have terabytes though. So unless you're on something like that where your things aren't really stored locally, then I would suggest going for at least the 64 gigabyte iPhone 6s or any iPhone buying now for that matter. In terms of between the iPhone 6s and the iPhone 8, if you're on a budget, I would say remain with the iPhone 6s. Like I said, guys, it's a very capable phone. In fact, it's probably even, well, I know for a fact it's faster than the S7 Edge because I have tested it beside the S7 Edge on the iOS 12 update, and trust me, it destroys the S7 Edge, especially when it comes to multitasking. This phone is a champion. However, when I compared it to the 8 Plus from Samsung, that is, it did okay. As a matter of fact, it was on par with the S8 Plus. That's this specific model I have in my hand. And do bear in mind that this is a 186 gig model. And while you guys might say, oh, that has nothing to do with how the phone performs, the more storage any device has, the better it performs, including a laptop. The quicker it is to fill, and the more filled it is, the less the performance is. And that's just how it is. And so, as I'm closing off, should you buy this phone in 2019, the year to come? Yes, especially if you're on a budget. However, if you're not on a budget and you would like a newer device, I would suggest opting for the iPhone 8 or the 8 Plus. In fact, I would recommend the 8 or the 8 Plus over the 10. And that's because the price difference between the 8 and the 10 online right now is crazy. Like you can get an 8 and an 8 Plus for around $300, $400. Most of them will be between the 400, 500 bracket. But sometimes you will get lucky and you'll spot a deal in between 300 and 400. So it's not that much higher than the 7 Plus, which is between 250 to 390. So I would suggest going for the 8 Plus. The 10, on the other hand, rockets out of the charts with prices starting. I've seen where prices have started at $600. So absolutely don't go for the 10 unless you really, really want Face ID. I would suggest sticking to at least the 6S if you're on a budget, 6S Plus. While in terms of 6S Plus, I might actually recommend a different one, but in terms of just the base model, the 6S is the way to go. Do not buy 16 gigs of storage. That won't do. 32 gigs will not do as well, especially with the updates coming out for iOS 12. So at least 64 gig iPhone 6s. If you're not on a tight budget and you can afford to spend a couple extra dollars, I would suggest getting the iPhone 8 or 8 Plus, as they offer much more features. Not the iPhone 10 unless you can really afford it. iPhone XS, iPhone XR. The iPhone XR, like if you have to get a phone with Face ID, I would suggest the iPhone XR over the iPhone 10. And it's not necessary. Yes, you might be sacrificing a few features, but the 10R will be supported longer than the 10. And it's in the same price range now, like I'm telling you. The 10R you can get from Apple for $700. The X online used is for around that price. So if you're gonna have to go with a Face ID phone, I would suggest the 10R because it's not that much more costly than the 10 in any form or factor. So this has been Devvy. It has been wonderful talking to you, lovely people. Remember, Happy New Year's, guys, and continue to stay awesome. If you want looking for a phone to buy in the upcoming year, I would suggest remaining with, if you have an iPhone 6s, remain with it. If you have an iPhone 7, remain with it. If you have an iPhone 8, remain with it. At least for the next year until we see what Apple releases in September. But if you're coming from an older device, iPhone 6, iPhone 5, iPhone 4, any older device, switch to this, guys. Trust me, it's worth it.